What's up, you friggin' geniuses? So, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to write the equation of a polynomial function given imaginary zeros, all right? So here you can see we're given two zeros. We're given just a positive 2 and a 3 plus I, right? Now, there's something called the complex conjugates theorem that says if a plus I is a 0, then so is a minus I, right? Or, vice versa. If we're given a minus I, then that means a plus I is also a 0. So in this case, we're given that 3 plus I is a 0, but according to this theorem, 3 minus I is also a 0, okay? So we basically have 3 zeros that we're given here. Okay, now to write these as a polynomial function, there's basically two steps we need to follow. First, we need to find the factors of these, and then once we do, we need to multiply all those together, and then we'll find our polynomial function like that. Okay, so first, let's find the factors, and the way you do that is just by setting each of these equal to x. So this first one, we're going to say that x is equal to 2. Here we'll say x is equal to 3 plus I, and here we'll say x is equal to 3 minus I, all right? The next thing you want to do is just take whatever you have on the right side over here and move it to the left side with the x. So this positive 2, we can just subtract 2 from both sides, right? So then here we get x minus 2, and that's equal to 0, right? This thing on the left is a factor, right? Same thing over here. We can subtract a 3 from both sides, and we can also subtract an I from both sides. Okay, so then here we get x minus 3 minus I is equal to 0. This thing on the left is a factor. And then lastly, with this one right here, we can subtract 3 from both sides, and we can also add an I, right, plus I to both sides. So then here we get x minus 3 plus I is equal to 0. This thing is a factor, right? So those are our 3 factors. Now we're just going to multiply those together to find our function. So we're going to say that f of x is equal to x minus 2 times x minus 3 minus I times x minus 3 plus I, okay? Now, in order to multiply these together, there's one nifty little trick we can do, because if you notice something in these two trinomials, they have something in common, right? We have this x minus 3 here, and we have an x minus 3 here. So I can actually group those together since they are the exact same in both of my trinomials. Okay, and the reason I want to group them is because it makes my factoring a little bit easier, because now I can FOIL these two together, right? Because I have 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, 4 terms. So again, I'm just going to FOIL them. So I'm going to multiply right there. So x minus 3 times x minus 3. So, and I'm going to write brackets over here for when I FOIL these two together. So again, x minus 3 times x minus 3, that's equal to x minus 3 squared. And then x minus 3 times this positive I is equal to positive x minus 3 I, right? And then we can multiply these two together. So x minus 3 times negative I is minus x minus 3 times I. And then last, negative I times positive I is equal to negative I squared, right? Minus I squared. Okay, and then don't forget we can still bring this other guy down, so x minus 2 like that. All right, now we can simplify this a little bit, right? We can combine like terms because we have a positive x minus 3i and a negative x minus 3i, so those cancel out. So then here, all we're going to be left with is this x minus 3 squared and this negative I squared, right? So well, actually, let's simplify that first. So what is negative I squared equal to? Well, I, by definition, is equal to the square root of negative 1, okay? Now, if we square it, like we are here, right, that means we're squaring this whole thing like that. So then I squared is equal to, well, whenever you square a square root or a radical, they cancel each other out, right? So then we're just left with the number that's in there, which is a negative 1. So I squared is equal to negative 1. Okay, so here we are subtracting I squared. So we are subtracting negative 1, right? So we're subtracting negative 1. Okay, and actually let's simplify that again. So whenever you subtract a negative, that's the same thing as adding, right? So really, here we're just adding 1. Okay, and then here, this x minus 2, let's bring this guy down again. All right, cool, so we're almost there. Now, this x minus 3 squared, we want to multiply that out, okay? So this is going to be equal to x minus 3 times x minus 3, and then we have the plus 1 right there, right? And then this x minus 2, again, it's just going to come down for the ride, along the ride this entire time, right? And multiplying this together, right, we can FOIL that again. So we're going to have x squared minus 3x minus 3x plus 9 plus 1. Okay, and this guy again, just to keep it consistent. So then simplifying in here, you can see that we have negative 3x minus 3x, that's equal to negative 6x, right? So we have x squared minus 6x plus 10. Okay, and then this x minus 2 right there, right? The last thing we have to do here is just multiply these two guys together. So we can do that by just distributing. So we're going to distribute this first term into this trinomial first, right? We're going to multiply it by all three terms. So x times x squared, that's equal to x cubed. X times negative 6x, that's equal to negative 6x squared. And x times 10 is positive 10x, all right? Now we're going to multiply this other term, the second term, into here. So we're going to do negative 2 times x squared times negative 6x and times positive 10, right? So negative 2 times x squared is equal to negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times negative 6x is positive 12x. And negative 2 times positive 10 is negative 20. Okay, cool. So now the last thing we have to do here is just combine like terms, right? So here we have an x squared. It's the only one. So we'll write that there. Here we have negative 6x squared and negative 2x squared. So that's negative 8x squared, like that. Here we have 10x and 12x, so that's 22x, and lastly negative 20, right? So minus 20. Okay, so there's nothing left to combine, so this would be your final answer right here. So x cubed minus negative 8x squared plus 22x minus 20. So if you found the video helpful, definitely leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any other questions or want to see any other examples, just let me know in the comment section below.